Muchas gracias. It's, first of all, a great pleasure to be here. And I'm looking forward very much to the opportunity to give the opening keynote lecture at the second Congress that's convening this afternoon. So thank you for that invitation, for the chance to participate in this. It is true that for many years now, I have been principally concerned with economic and political developments at the world scale, at the world level, the global level. And I have pursued two lines of interest and engagement. One of them has to do with inequality, and the other one with the critical project of maintaining economic traditions, traditions of political economy that were alternative to the domination of the neoliberal position, the position of let's say radical deregulation, privatization, and fiscal and monetary orthodoxy. And one of the things I discovered, particularly as a result of working on the problem of inequality over a very wide spectrum of countries and over many years, and careful refinement of the measures, is that these two problems were not distinct. They were essentially the same problem. That the rise of inequality, which is experienced around the world, and especially beginning in the early 1980s and really coming to a crest around 2000, was the product of the implementation of radical neoliberal policies. This was true in Latin America and Africa in the debt crisis. It was true in Central Europe as the Soviet Union collapsed with the shift toward those policies in that part of the world, and then in Asia in the 1990s. And to the extent that the rise of inequality, no? Sorry, go ahead.
Voy a traducir un poquito resumiendo, ¿no? Es verdad, dice, que ha estado muy preocupado por los problemas del desarrollo a nivel mundial y que fundamentalmente aquí esto incluía pues, todos los problemas de la desigualdad. Y después, por otra parte, él ha estado interesado desde el punto de vista teórico en la defensa de la tradición de la economía política en contra del neoliberalismo, como desregulación, ya sabéis, bueno, qué es el neoliberalismo. Fundamentalmente, para resumir un poco, dice que estos dos problemas, el problema de la desigualdad y el problema del neoliberalismo, no están separados, que son dos cosas que están íntimamente unidas. Es decir, que el aumento este aumento tremendo de la desigualdad que se ha producido pues, a partir de los años 80, incluso antes, es un producto estricto del neoliberalismo, de las ideas neoliberales y la implementación de las políticas neoliberales, de hecho.
And to the extent that the rise in inequality has peaked, come under control, and that inequality has declined in some parts of the world in the last 15 years, and this is particularly true in parts of South America, true in Brazil, true in Chile, true in Argentina, true in Ecuador and elsewhere. That is because of the beginning of a counter-movement at the policy level. That is to say, because of the consistent application of policies that have strengthened the mixed economy and that have begun to rebuild the welfare state and to achieve national programs of economic development. So there is evidence on both sides of the proposition that what matters is the direction of policy, and that there are, in fact, alternatives plural, to the doctrines which have been advanced for a generation by some of the leading voices in the economics profession, and that have become embedded in political structures, especially here in Europe. So it's always very, I think, important to recognize that those who have been expressing dissent and desire for alternative policies and who've been framing alternative policies to the what has been dominant for the last generation are not alone, and in fact form part of a increasingly strong worldwide political movement. You can see this, of course, you could see it with the Greek election last January, which is a very courageous expression by a small country of desire for an alternative policy. You could see it in what's happened in the United Kingdom, both in Scotland and with the change in leadership in the Labour Party. You can see it in the last 2 days in Canada with the repudiation of an austerity government there. So things are happening around the world which are moving away and moving beyond what is increasingly being regarded by democratic citizens, citizenries, as the failed policies of a particular, let's say, ideological and political moment. And that's something which I think is a hopeful sign. But it's nevertheless the case that here in Europe, one has the toughest challenge because of the deep embedding of these doctrines in the institutions of the European Union and especially of the Eurozone. And that was something, of course, with which the Greek government from January to July had tried to grapple. And it was the case that, as everybody knows, that the Greek government did not have the leverage, did not have the weight to effect a change, and that it was effectively defeated, crushed, in fact, in its effort to secure better and more workable terms for Greece. That does not mean that the struggle is over, but it does mean that when another country comes along, which also wishes to move in this direction inside Europe, there will be another very tough time for negotiations and let's say frank discussions about what needs to be done. That said, it seems to me very clear that the let's say that the problems here are not going to be resolved along neoliberal lines, because those policies are incapable of reducing inequality, incapable of producing economic development, incapable of curing unemployment, and incapable of preventing the enormous social stresses, including outmigration, which continue to afflict the crisis-affected countries. So it is time for change, and that discussion needs to be advanced as far as possible everywhere. Thank you very much.
Perdón. Lo que ha dicho... A ver, ¿dónde está? Ha empezado hablando de que la desigualdad había disminuido en Latinoamérica porque se da un movimiento en contra de estos fenómenos del neoliberalismo, unos nuevos sistemas de bienestar. Lo que es importante es que se introduce en Latinoamérica serían cambiar la dirección de las políticas. Y este fenómeno de que está produciendo estos movimientos, se están produciendo en Latinoamérica, implica que la gente que está en contra o a favor de estas políticas no están solas. En el mundo esos movimientos aumentan como movimientos en contra del neoliberalismo aumentan bastante si se tiene en cuenta, por ejemplo, pues las últimas elecciones griegas, el movimiento del Partido Laborista en Inglaterra, la elección del nuevo secretario, es el caso de Escocia, o el último caso que es de hace nada, el caso de Canadá, en donde bueno, pues un partido, un planteamiento estrictamente neoliberal ha sido echado del poder de alguna manera. En el caso europeo, y esto es una cosa que le ha insistido mucho ya hoy, es el fenómeno es bastante importante, dado que esta doctrina neoliberal hay que tener en cuenta que está en la base de la Unión Europea, está en los elementos constitutivos de la Unión Europea y, por lo tanto, luchar contra ella es un fenómeno enormemente complicado, ¿no? Difícil. Desde este punto de vista, Grecia es un caso importante, bueno, pues en cuanto que con la falta de poder y el hecho de que Grecia es un país pequeño y todo ese tipo de cosas, ha plantado cara, de alguna manera, en la medida de lo posible, a los planteamientos, digamos, neoliberales de la Unión Europea, y este fenómeno piensa que continuará en otros casos. Dice, los problemas no se resuelven desde el punto de vista del liberalismo, que ha sido incapaz de resolver pues, cuestiones fundamentales como el problema de los salarios, el problema de la pobreza, una cantidad ingente de problemas, y en estos momentos pues, también es incapaz absolutamente de resolver, o sin ni siquiera plantearse desde un punto de vista sensato, el problema de la llegada de los refugiados, etc. Con eso termino.
Pues pasamos al turno de preguntas. Sí, solamente deciros que esta tarde a las 6:30 en la conferencia del profesor Galbraith en el Auditorio Marcelo